Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to be offering in the first, 5 days or so, we're going to be offering quite a few different practices for you to try or not. Like I said, if you already know, Newton Abbott's fine, it's okay, but still some of them can be really worthwhile. And this one I want to offer tonight, it seems that it's not that well known, so it might be quite new to most of you, maybe. And it involves counting with the breath. So like I said, it maybe breath isn't even your thing, it turns out, but that's fine. We're just offering some things. Now, many people are familiar with counting. You count breath, so up to 10, right? That's quite a common, or you just count indefinitely 3,790. Or one counts up to 10, and then sometimes one counts before the breath or after the breath, right? That's quite familiar. If people come, yeah. What I want to do now is count within the breath. Okay? So for example, if I take a long breath, for the duration of that long breath, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. down till 9. And then at 9, when at the cusp of the breath, at the turning point of the breath, when that's the longest comfortable breath, the longest possible comfortable breath, then I turn it around, 9, 8, 7, 6, okay. And then if I do a slightly shorter breath, I can do a breath that at the same rate of counting would be, the length of breath would fit to 6, okay, so it's about 2/3. Then I can do a shorter breath, which would be 3. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. I could go to 1, but we're not going to do that. So that's it. Well, let's do it. I'll explain why I'm offering it, and after we've done it, and say a few more things. Very simple. Yeah. So meditation posture, we'll talk about that later, but it's upright, comfortable. It needs to be comfortable. Upright, relaxed, open. The posture should reflect the state of attention, the state of consciousness. This balance between uprightness and alertness and energization on the one hand, and relaxation and openness and softness on the other hand. And somehow the posture, someone looking at you just gets a sense of that poise. Somehow that posture captures all of that. And then the mind has it as well. The consciousness, the citta has it. So find that posture. Establish yourself in that posture. Feel the posture. Feel, sense how the posture reflects that poise I just talked about between those sort of complementary qualities of the citta. How the posture expresses that balance. Take a few moments to feel, while you're still feeling the whole posture, feel the connection, the sensations of contact with the cushion, the bench, the chair, with the feet or the legs on the floor. Then open it again to the whole body. I mean the whole space, a little bit bigger than your anatomical physical body. You're sensitive to that whole space. Many times your attention is going to shrink. Countless times. You just keep opening it up to that whole space. Now, this may be a little tricky, this first part. I want you to keep that whole body awareness and keep opening it up, keep returning to it as many times as you need it, which will be many, many times. So you notice when it shrinks, then you open it up. Then it might be a little awkward at first. You start to breathe. You do not need to move a lot of air. You do not need to move a lot of air. What's the longest comfortable breath that you can take? It needs to be comfortable, and in fact you don't want to move a lot of air. We're not hyperventilating or anything. It's just a very sort of almost quite subtle, long, slow, smooth and comfortable as possible. And see if you can kind of gauge what it would be to kind of put a count to 9 of that, and then a downwards count from 9 to 1 on the out-breath. It takes a little while just to estimate and kind of get a feel of what's about the right length. Let it be comfortable. Find what's comfortable. Open up that whole the awareness to the whole space of the body. Open up that awareness. Keep opening it. Take whatever time it takes to gauge the right length and the right sort of speed of counting, if you like. Whole body awareness. Long, slow, comfortable breath. The longest comfortable breath that's possible. Not a lot of air. And with the counting, take your time to get the sense of the pacing of the breath and the counting. And once you've found that, just stick with that. 1 to 9, 9 to 1, with this long, slow, comfortable, smooth, and actually relatively subtle breath. Now what am I concentrating on here? You've actually got 4 things potentially that you're holding together in your attention. Potentially 3 or 4 objects. The breath, this long in-breath or out-breath, and the sense of that, sense of where it is. You've got the whole energy body, the whole space of the body, and what that feels like. You're holding that, you're sensitive to that as well as the breath. If you have a visual imagination, you have a third thing that you're concentrating on, holding in mind, and that's the visual sense of the numbers, the numerals right there, 1, 2, 3. Bring some energy, see them bright like the sun, white, golden light, bright, shining. With the breath, with the whole body. And you might as well have a 4th, which is the aural, the inner hearing. You're hearing yourself say each number, 1, 2, 3. So you have maybe 3, maybe 4 objects here. The whole body space, how that feels, the breath, and either or both of the visual sense of the imagination number and the aural sense. Let yourself hear them loud and clear. Not shouting, but loud and clear. So 4 things your attention has to hold together. Coordinate and really open yourself to. Give your attention to them. So don't worry if you don't have a visual imagination, just go with the inner hearing. If you can do both, great. Keep stretching that attention, whole body space. Filled with alive, alert presence and sensitivity. Let this long breath open up the sense of the body. Meet every number, be there, sense it, alive. So if you're drowsy, make those numbers brighter, make them louder. Keep opening up the awareness, the whole space, larger than the body. Keep opening it, again and again and again. To have to keep all of these 3 or 4 objects at once helps, gives the mind something to do. You can still play with giving an emphasis to one of them or another one of them. But always you keep the whole body sense. Never lose that, even if it's in the background. And then when you feel ready, let the breath become just a little shorter, but still pretty long, to the count of 6. So whatever the same pace of counting and breathing, it's a breath that's about 2/3 of that size, and you have a count of 6 in and 6 back down on the out-breath. You've got all these objects, the whole space of the energy body, the breath in and out, perhaps the visual sense of the numbers, and the hearing internally of the numbers. you might begin to notice when it is in the cycle that you tend to perhaps space out a little. I always kind of miss the beginning, or I'm not quite as present at the end of the cycle, or when it turns around, or whatever it is. Just a little less bright, maybe, a little less alert, a little less there. See if you can notice where that is for you right now, and just apply a bit more intention there. Really show up then. Intend to show up. Make it alive there. Be really present. Keep opening up that attention, whole body space, again and again and again. Fill it with awareness, fill it with alive presence. Inhabit the whole of that space with sensitivity. Make the numbers, make each number loud and clear, and or bright and clear to the inner eye. Allowing the breath, supporting the breath, shaping the breath to a shorter breath, to the count of 3 at the same pace. It's a relatively short breath. Comfortable, smooth. Quite slow. Whole body awareness, whole space filled with presence, alive, bright. Each number Make it work for you. What do you need to do right now to make this work for you? Make it come alive. What helps? If you want, for a few breaths, you can play with, if you've got a visual imagination, imagine the numbers behind you. Usually we construe things in front of us. What if they're behind us? Just play. Whole body awareness. When you're ready, coming back to the breath, the slightly longer breath with the count of 6. Comfortable, smooth. Opening the body with the breath, opening the attention to the whole body. Holding this multiply aspected object in the attention, engaging with it, open to it. And then again, when you're ready, just returning shortly to the longest breath with the count of 9. Longest, comfortable breath. Smooth, slow, long and comfortable. The numbers bright, loud, clear. Opening your attention, opening the body. just letting your breath return to normal, whatever that is right now. Seeing if you can keep this whole body awareness and opening your eyes when you're ready. How was that? Was that difficult? Awkward? Yes. For everyone. Anyone find it helpful at all? Yeah, some people. Okay. It may or may not be helpful to you. Beware of what I said earlier about inertia. Why do I offer this one? A couple of reasons, which is worth going into. Most people who, at the beginning of a retreat, you may feel like your mind is a box of frogs, and you're very agitated or whatever. Most people actually suffer from low energy. Actually, their mind might also be a box of frogs as well, but there's generally a pretty low energy. And the long breath will energize. It energizes your energy system, and it will open the body that way and energize the mind. And mostly at the beginnings of retreat, that's often what's needed. A busy day, etc. Again, you might feel frazzled and agitated, but actually there's maybe as well a low energy. So the long breath is really, really helpful in bringing energy. Okay, so in this particular practice, it's tricky because you have to it takes a while to get used to it. How do I actually find a count of 9 to that, and how long? And that's actually too long, and it's uncomfortable, and then it's not smooth, etc. But it's actually potentially it's a really powerful practice. Don't underestimate that practice. What we just did, actually, even just the first stage of it, just with the 9, could take you right up to the edge of the first jhana. Potentially. So don't underestimate its power if you want to play with it. If you don't, that's also fine. But bear in mind what I said about inertia. If you do want to play with it, you can do it any time. So it doesn't need to be, it can be a good start to the practice, it can be good at the beginning of the retreat, but it could be something you're doing in 3 weeks' time or 3 years' time or whatever. It's just part of your practice that you use either a lot or now and then. Really, any time. If you find it helpful, it can be really developed as something really, really quite helpful. Why? What's the advantage here? And maybe it's obvious to you. When we count within a breath, it's like we're putting more pegs there's more pegs for the attention to grab hold of, right? In the same period of time, one in-breath, let's say, so there's not much there. It's very easy for the mind to get lost and not. The mind's given more to do here and more to kind of really peg the attention in. Does that make sense? Yeah? And the pegs are clearer and louder, potentially, and brighter. And all that's going to allow the consciousness to kind of coalesce more in an energized way. So it's there if you want. Some portion of people will find this extraordinarily helpful if you bother to develop it, if you take the time to develop it. For other people, it's like, okay, whatever. But it's there. Okay. Tomorrow at some point, do you know what time you guys will do a posture session? Did we agreed on that? Do you remember? I thought we did. Okay, so 12 o'clock in here. Kirsten Ansari Kirsten Ansari will lead a session for anyone who wants any input or advice or feedback or help around your posture. Okay, it's important for jhana practice that you're comfortable, okay? That actually your body is comfortable. I spent the first, I don't know how many years of my meditative life really uncomfortable in my body. And it was only when actually Christina suggested to me, why don't you alternate postures and sit cross-legged? I had some soccer injuries, both knees. And why don't you just sit sometimes on the floor and sometimes on the... And that's the point where my samadhi took off. It actually allowed my body to be comfortable enough that it's really important. It's really important that the posture is supportive. So do come, get some input, ask in interviews, etc. And consider that for some of you, if it's this really, it's a lot of stress on the body to sit all day in one posture. If it's not, it's fine. But if it is, then consider alternating postures. Maybe kneeling and whatever it is. In jhana practice, we are interested in working with pain. So that does have its place in jhana practice very much, is very important, but we're going to do that later. You can't start with that, it doesn't work so. So first get comfortable, let's get the thing going, and then we can introduce allowing the pain to be there and relating to the pain within the jhana practice. Yeah, but that comes later. Good to move as well. So you'd be doing a lot of sitting, a lot of slow walking and standing. It's good to move in the day. So if you've got a yoga practice or qigong or whatever, that can be really helpful, moving the energies, taking care of the body, etc. I suppose, I don't know, maximum like an hour a day or something like that, maximum. But it can really be supportive, if you're sitting a lot and walking and standing a lot. Also, go for walks. In other words, go for a walk out there, off the grounds, with the idea of enjoying yourself, and again, opening the heart, taking in the beauty, appreciating, opening the senses, etc. So do that. The question of whether, it's not movement now, whether you should go running or not, that's a sensitive one. It can vary from individual to individual and the same individual at different times. Sometimes running or that kind of more vigorous exercise is exactly what we need for the energy to get a bit more circulating, because it's getting very stagnant. Other times running is actually just disturbing the energy. So you're going to have to, this is part of the art and the responsiveness of prayer. You're going to have to feel and get a sense of, is this going to help right now? I actually don't know, so I'm going to try it. I don't know. But it's there as a possibility. It's also something you want to be, if it's something you do regularly, something you want to pay attention to. How has that affected, etc., the energy, the body? Yeah? Are we going to explain about interviews now? Shall I do that briefly? Yeah. So, okay, as I said, a lot of interviews on this retreat. Tomorrow, or rather after tomorrow, until near the end of the retreat, we're going to be signing you up for interviews. So we say, you look on the board and you see my interview is at such and such a time with this teacher in this room. So you have to check when's my interview, yeah? Tomorrow, though, what we'll do is, if you feel like you want an interview, some of you have been here for a while, some of you may have things in your, whatever it is, if you feel like you could benefit from an interview, please put your name on the sheet of blank paper marked "Who wants an interview tomorrow?" That Kirsten. Oh, it's already up. Great. So it's already up there. Please put your name, and one of us will see you tomorrow. We'll give you a time, etc. And I think, at some point we'll stop taking interviews tomorrow. That'll be it. But that'll be some point in the afternoon. But if you know now that you're going to want an interview tomorrow, put it up now, because it helps us plan our times and rooms and things like that. You understand? So you may not want one, that's fine. After, probably the next day we'll tell you when to come, and then we might change that. We'll see how that goes. But there's going to be a lot of interviews. And with the interviews, again, on this retreat, please see it in the larger context. Usually on a Vipassana Insight retreat, bring anything into an interview, anything about your life or about whatever difficulty or some situation or relationship or whatever it is, and we can talk about it. On a soul-making retreat, bring anything, and we look at it, how can it become soul-making, etc., etc. On this retreat, what we mostly want to hear about is what's happening in your jhana practice. Yeah, so it's not that we're not interested in the rest of your life, but we really want to kind of part of the supporting conditions of really kind of containing the content of the interviews. So that's what you bring. What's happening on the cushion? What's happening in the walking? What's happening in the way you're thinking about the practice? You understand? So it's, I mean, not 100%, but generally speaking, that's what we want to try and do that. And that, I think, will be really helpful. Is that good for interviews? Yeah. Okay. If you've got any business left over, things you need to take care of, calls you need to make, emails, I don't know if you need to write an email or whatever it is, hopefully not, but any business, if you can do that tonight, that would be great. It's going to be so helpful, way more than even for a usual retreat, if you can just put unfinished business aside and just really get into enjoying being here, relaxing and opening. Yeah. So if you can do that tonight, or at the latest sort of first thing tomorrow morning, really, really do that as a gift to yourself. Just have it done. Last thing, let me introduce, because of the complexities of my situation, and practicalities and my needs, and I've got 3 helpers on this retreat. They won't necessarily all be here at the same time, but they'll be coming and going, and you will see them, and sometimes there might be situations where they need to sort of jump to the start of the lunch queue and stuff like that. So can we just, everyone see them so we know who, do you want to stand up, guys? So it's, please. This is Lawrence. Okay, Lawrence, and right at the back is Leah and Nick. Okay, so you will see them coming in and out. They're going to sit with us when they're here. They'll be coming and going a lot, and as I said, they might need to do stuff. So just so you know what's happening there. Last thing, slow down. Okay, but don't slow down too much. Meaning, we're not doing that very slow Mahasi thing. You know, if you know that, lifting, moving, placing, etc. That's not the pace that's helpful for what we're doing. Okay? Neither is too speedy. Eventually, you can be either very slow or very speedy, and it's fine within the context of jhana practice. At the moment, we want a kind of pretty slow, comfortable thing. Why? Okay, I'll tell you. Because it's the pace at first at which you can move around and keep the whole body awareness. Okay? Now, one way or another, whole body awareness is going to be part of this practice. It might be very secondary, it might be a background thing, but it might be a foreground thing. When you get to jhana, talk about this more, when you get to jhana, it's all about whole body awareness anyway. But moving slowly around enables you to kind of keep that basic whole body awareness, that basic mindfulness. Yeah, too slow, and you get into the details too much, and you're just backing up the queue for whatever people want to go to the toilet. But it's also different practice. Too fast, it's actually hard at first. So that's why I'm saying slow down. It's part of the whole kind of energetic awareness we want to gradually cultivate, this bubble of resource. Does this make sense a little bit? Yeah. So find that pace where actually that's what you're doing when you're moving around, is you've got some sense of the whole body and the energy of the whole body. Yeah. So that's the sort of pace. Anything else? No? Okay. Long evening. Thank you for your patience. Sleep well and have a good night's rest, and we will see you 6:45 to 7:30 here for the sitting, and then teachings in the after. Well, there's the posture session, there's the ritual with the phones, there's all kinds of things tomorrow. But see you tomorrow at some point. Yeah. Okay. Are there any practical questions, actually, about how we're... Was that Victor?
chairs here.
Are there more chairs?
I will have a look at the back. We can organize more chairs. Yeah.
Lawrence, did you have a question? There are more chairs in the cushion room at the back, Victor. Yeah. Anything else, just on a practical note, please?
Are we allowed to bring water or tea into the hall?
I'm actually not sure. I think no tea. Water's fine, but I would encourage, while you're in here, unless you've got some kind of medical condition, don't bring water in here. There's plenty. You're not going to dehydrate, even if you sit 4 hours in a stretch. So no water or tea in here. This is just if our throats get dry when we're talking. So no tea or water in here. Yeah, but there's obviously plenty out there. Yeah.
So we try to set up the hall that there's quite a lot of space to allow each other to move around, coming and going. So we can put more chairs in and more subtons, but just see if you can keep a little bit space among each other, so that you can actually come in and go quite, smoothly without having to step over too much.
I think if you want to bring a chair, bearing in mind what I said about if you want to experiment alternating, then probably if we put the chairs still along the walls and at the back, then you can, your cushion might be in the middle of the room and your chairs, but that's fine, yeah. And then sometimes that will be empty. Hi, is that Sabra? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yes. The short answer is it's fine. The medium answer is it might depend why you're doing it, and you might just want to be aware. Like, for instance, if you find that irritability and aversion at your fellow meditators coming out, that's why you want to go into your room, then you might want to, push against that a little bit. And at some proportion of the time, come in here and work with that difficulty, bearing in mind what I said, it's about openness of heart, it's about other qualities, not just that. But sometimes let yourself go sit in the room. Yeah, so you're kind of letting yourself have both. But yeah, I think both are possible, but this hall is just open, and if you want to sit in your room, go for it. Yeah. Walking we can do in the walking room, obviously, but anywhere on the grounds, I think, is available for walking and standing practice. Yeah. Does that answer enough, Sabra? Yeah. Okay. Anything else? What's that? Oh, yes, thank you. You're welcome to stand up and meditate in here. In fact, we'll be talking about when we get to the hindrances, really encourage it if that's helpful. Yeah, so just stand up quietly and sit down back quietly when you need to, or your posture's really hurting, you can shift to a chair. Actually, I'm really in a groove, it's just my hips really hurting, whatever, just, I've worked with it. And we'll talk about pain later, but yeah. Okay. Last call. Okie doke. So, yeah, sleep well, have a good night's rest. Bless you all. See you tomorrow.